Okay, this is part 2 of 2 leaderboard tutorials, and this particular leaderboard is going to show you how to create a leaderboard using a subset of the students array in this particular example. So the whole purpose of this method is to generate a leaderboard showing students in rank order from the highest quiz score to the lowest quiz score. So I'm just going to go through it line by line. So we call the app title method, which tells the menu where it is in the application. So I send it the parameter menu name, geography quiz leaderboard. So that's the breadcrumbs in your app. Then I create a two-dimensional array to store a subset of the student information, and all I need to show in the quiz leaderboard is the first name, surname, and the quiz score. So I create a two-dimensional array which is number of students in length, or number of rows, and 3 columns in width, or number of columns, and those columns will be first name, surname, and quiz score. Now what I do is, this is going to essentially copy the information from the existing two-dimensional array. It's going to copy the information I need into this new quiz score two-dimensional array. And all I'm doing is iterating through each row in the existing two-dimensional array and copying the required information from the existing array in columns 1, 2 and 11, i.e. first name, surname and quiz score, into the corresponding rows of the quiz score two-dimensional array, but in columns 0, 1 and 2. So that's just going to work through each row in this students two-dimensional array and copy the information across into the quiz score two-dimensional array. This part of the method then is essentially the bubble sort algorithm, and in order to do a bubble sort algorithm you need temporary variables, and these temporary variables will store the values that are being overwritten so that they can be copied into the source of the overwriting material. In other words, they can be copied into the other variable. If you were not to have these temporary variables, then once you overwrite the other variables, you have nothing to copy into the location that is swapping with this the overwritten material. So now we're into the nested for loop, and then the outer for in the nested for loop, it controls the number of passes, and it's determined by the number of rows essentially in the quiz score array. And you'll notice it says -1 here, and that's because you do not need one. Once you have reached the end of the array, in practice that will already contain the highest score, so you won't need to check it with the next position, because there is no position once you get to this penultimate position in the array. The inner for then essentially does the swapping, and it'll be used to swap the variables, or to check the variables, and if one quiz score is greater than another quiz score and for the next record, then it will swap them round. So this is the condition then. Remember, in the quiz score everything is stored as a string, so as you pull it out of the array you need to convert it to an int. So what this is saying is, if the quiz score for this row I, is less than the quiz score in the next row, then you need to, if that's true, then you need to swap them. And to swap them then, as you probably remember from the video, you need to then copy the one that you're swapping into a temporary variable. And remember, it's not just one column you're swapping all 3 columns together, so that's why you need 3 temporary variables. So you store each variable into a temporary variable, and then you overwrite that variable because you've now made a copy of it. You overwrite it with the one that is the variable that is higher, essentially, and then you copy back into this new position the variables that were in the temporary variables. So once that's done, then you should have a two-dimensional array which is sorted, and now you can begin to write it out.